Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm your host Felipe and you're listening to the
Uh,
Pop Jobbers podcast. That person next to me right there is my good friend Brett Moore. Brett, tell the folks how you doing.
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic, fantastic. For those who know, we've had some technical difficulties. We were not able to go live, so we're just going to record this episode and post it on the YouTube channel. I think we could do a watch party. I don't know. Do you know the difference between a watch party and live and all that? I honestly don't know, but
I think people can leave their comments, but I mean, that's what it is. So,
all right. Well, I'll have to do that then, so people can chime in. So I do apologize. I was looking forward to reading everybody's comments and interacting with people, but unfortunately, we'll have to do that for the next episode. In the meantime, if you're watching this episode, you're on our YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe and follow us, and you get all access to the other great shows that we have in store for you guys, which includes the pop culture podcast, Basement Crawl, and the various baseball podcasts that are out there, Dong City and Above the Dugout, and of course a very popular food group, The Lab. Did you check any of that out yesterday, Brett? The Lab.
oh yeah, it was good. I'm not much of a cooker, but I could sit there and watch Johnny and them cook all day. Those guys know what they're doing. It's impressive.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I was driving when I was listening to it, and
Mhm.
I thought they were gonna like start demonstrating right there. I mean, I saw Matthew was was in his kitchen, like, oh man, should I stop and pull over and watch what they're gonna do? I don't want to miss a thing. But no, the simple introductory
Right.
show, but great things are ahead for those two right there. Anyway, but this is a wrestling podcast. This is the Pod Jobbers podcast with Felipe and Brett. We are administrators at Wrestling Life. For those who are not in the group, please join us. That's right. Hey-o. Let's see. A little bit of background on me. I am, like I mentioned, administrator over at the Wrestling Life group. I was doing a podcast on a regular with Jake Schwartz, a fellow administrator at the Wrestling Life Facebook group as well. I was also a sports writer at XN Sports. I still contribute to them once in a while, but not as much. And let's see. And then now we're here doing this podcast. And Brett, I'll let you start things off. How did you become a fan? Go ahead.
I can remember watching it back from when I was a little guy. Like my dad liked watching it too. So this was like I was born in 1984, so this was like I was born a Hulkamaniac pretty much. Like that's however you feel about the guy now, it is what it is. But back in the day, he was it. So I had all the big giant action figures, the big rubber ones that you couldn't do anything with, but they look cool. I had like all those. Other than Hogan, I was a big fan of Piper, a big fan of Savage. Um, and as far back as I can remember watching The Undertaker put the Ultimate Warrior in a casket, and that kind of scared the crap out of me because I was like 5, 6, 7, something like that. So I didn't watch for a couple years after that, but that's pretty much how I started.
Yeah, I mean that's usually the sweet spot. The late '80s, early '90s. I think a lot of people our age became fans around that time because it was so accessible and very kid friendly, which is
It was
ironic.
everywhere.
Oh, and it was everywhere. I mean, that's how I became a fan. I knew who Hulk Hogan was, and I was gravitated towards the guy because he was everywhere. You couldn't flip channels without watching one of his movies,
Sure.
whether it be The Nanny or Suburban Commando or help me with another one. What's another one that you saw?
No Holds Barred, bro, with Zeus.
I still haven't watched it yet. That's why. But yeah, No Holds Barred with Zeus, Tiny Lister, Debo from Friday, Thunder in Paradise. That's another one. So he was everywhere, and I mean
Zeus Devo.
So, but for me, it's like the earliest memory I have is one of the WrestleManias where he's feuding with Sergeant Slaughter, and it's right in the middle of the Persian Gulf War. And one of the first images, the first image I have, earliest memory I have of this, is Hulk Hogan face down on the mat, and Sergeant Slaughter drapes an Iraqi flag. Because remember, he became an Iraqi sympathizer, Mr. All-American Hero. Sergeant Slaughter drapes an Iraqi flag over Hulk Hogan, and like, whoa, man. And man, like you said, 6, 7-year-old Felipe is like, oh, got triggered all kinds of emotions on that one, man.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, just like as often it happens with me, I became lapsed almost immediately. I just wasn't seeing enough Hogan. I grew up watching Wrestling Superstars and what's the other show that was on syndication, like Shotgun or some crap like that?
Oh, yeah, it was like Shotgun Saturday Night or Saturday Night's Main Event. They had something like that.
Yeah, no, but I watched the ones not on broadcast television, just the ones on local syndicated channels. You know, I know Superstars would just be on, you know, at all types of hours at night, and that's what we look forward to. But we noticed that Hulk Hogan was too good to be on those shows, and all I wanted to see was watch him wrestle, just to see what the hype was all about. But you know, we got to see all the promos, all the vignettes, all the storylines. But me and my brother, we weren't watching him wrestle, so I got turned off by it all. So we kind of stopped because of that. Then we came back around the mid '90s, and I grew up watching Bret Hart, the new generation, Diesel, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, Owen Hart, them guys. Yokozuna was still the champion, and then I got turned off again because Bret Hart lost the belt to Bob Backlund, of all people. It's starting to upset me here, Brett, just thinking about it. But I became lapsed once again, and then we're about getting into high school year, and I will admit, '97 WWF was fire. A lot of good stuff was happening. I'm entering high school. A lot of my friends are watching it as well. And then what do I see people wearing the NWO T-shirts, right?
Yeah.
And you got people doing the two sweets to each other. And like, what's that from? Oh, it's from WCW. That's right. WCW. What the hell's WCW? Which I always thought was like a minor league, you know, like what with Jim Cornette.
I knew Sting.
Yeah. I knew Sting. I kind of knew who Ric Flair was because he appeared in the video games for the WWF. I remember that. And then I'm like, okay, but it's WCW. How are you going to watch that over the WWE? I thought to myself. So I was loyal to the brand. I was lapsed, but I was loyal to the fucking brand, man. I'll tell you what. So why are you guys watching that much show? WCW. That's Southern hick shit, you know? But I checked it out because my friends told me to check it out, and it changed my life. I'm like, whoa, boy, I can see why people are tuning into this thing. And most importantly for me, there were actual Mexicans there because, as I mentioned on the other podcast with Katie, Basement Crawl, representation matters, to me at least, and that's what got me in, and I just fell in love with it. And to kind of put a nice little bow, in 2001, WWF bought out WCW, and I became lapsed once again for the next 16 years. And I came back in 2016, and now, fast forward to the present, we're doing a podcast together about wrestling.
Oh, yeah. And I had kind of a similar journey after I got over that whole Undertaker thing, you know?
Yeah.
Right around, I remember watching a little bit of the stuff with like Diesel and stuff like that. But what I really remember being drawn in by was like right after the screw job, you know, because it had to have been the Raw right after the screw job, because I remember turning on USA and seeing the little person they had as Bret Hart. I remember seeing that, and I'm like, what's going on here?
Wow.
So, and from then on, it was pretty much every Monday night, I was sitting in front of the TV watching Raw. My dad, it was the Attitude Era. I'm a big fan of DX, The Rock, the People's Champion.
Rocky died.
So I was a big Rock guy. I'm still a big Rock fan. I mean, I'm a promo guy just as much as I am an in-ring guy. So, you know, gravitated towards The Rock. Steve Austin for sure. Who didn't like Steve Austin?
I didn't like Steve Austin.
You didn't like Steve Austin?
No, I thought he was too much of a troublemaker. Nobody listen, Brett. Nobody wrote me I didn't receive the memo that it was okay to root for the bad guys this time around. You know, like I said, I went back to late '80s, early '90s WWF. Yeah. And the baby faces were the baby faces, and the bad guys were the bad guys. Unless it was Razor Ramon, then you could be the bad guy, Chico, and still look good, you know. But yeah, that's whoa.
yeah.
But that's what I got. That's what I was accustomed to, right? I was used to watching that. And then when Stone Cold Steve Austin, I thought we were supposed to boo the guy. I thought he was somebody we jeered, not cheered. And I had a soft spot for Vince McMahon. I actually felt sorry for him. Like, why is this bald mother like bullying this broadcaster? You know, he's just a broadcaster.
Yeah.
Little did I know that he was more than just a broadcaster now, didn't we?
Right. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Mr. McMahon, pal.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So I got worked. I worked you good, huh, son of a bitch, yeah. So I got worked.
We all got worked.
We all got worked, sir, yeah. And what was I talking? Oh, so yeah, like you said, who wasn't a fan? I wasn't a fan. It wasn't until much later that I appreciated what Austin was doing, and I found out that he broke his neck in '97. I did not know any of that at all. I didn't know that he was injured because I was still watching him. He was still there every week, wasn't he?
Yeah, but then you look back on it and you realize he didn't really wrestle. He just came in, gave like 6-7 people a stunner, drank some beer, and split.
Oh yeah, it's the best gig you can get if you can get it. But
For sure.
And I'm watching '95 ECW, '96 early WWE, and that Austin could move, man. Even as he's getting ready to become Stone Cold Steve Austin in '96, he can move. And you're right, you did see a difference in style after the neck injury.
But I was kind of going back to that though. Like I watched a little bit of WCW. I found like everything I was kind of like you. I like the cruiserweights. I like Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. I was a big Billy Kidman fan.
Me too.
Or the shooting. What he did the 450, right?
I don't remember. I know he did the shooting star.
Yeah, the shooting. That was the first time I'd ever seen a shooting star press. It was nuts. So those were the guys. I didn't like Goldberg. I wasn't a huge NWO fan.
Yeah.
I liked Sting. Who doesn't like Sting though? Sting's awesome. And even like out of the NWO guys, my favorite guy was always Conan, because Conan could talk.
Conan was so damn good. He had everybody speaking Spanish, and so yeah, you have a Mexican. I'm sorry, he wasn't Mexican. He wasn't Mexican. He just spoke like a Mexican because he wrestled in Mexico. He's Cuban, right? But you gotta.
One of the islands.
Yeah. you have a guy, a Latino, going into these southern towns, Greenville, South Carolina, Richmond, Virginia, and he has them speaking in Spanish, and he gets no credit for that at all. Like, he's so underrated, and most importantly for me, he's Latino. Right. I rooted for NWO Red and Black just because Conan was in there. So I'm with you on that one. Billy Kidman, I definitely like Billy Kidman a lot. To this day, the shooting star press is one of my favorite moves to see. It was my favorite move to pick when I created my wrestling character in those old games, WWF 2000, WrestleMania 2000, and No Mercy, and all those games. Love me the shooting star press. So yeah, I was big on that. The promo stuff, I mean, I'm 50-50 on it because it seems like it's a lot of talking and no action, and some of these just last way too long. But you know, a good promo is a good promo no matter who's doing it, no matter what the circumstances are. And but not everybody can pull it off. We all remember the good stuff, but we don't remember all the other times where it's just an awkward looking guy standing in front of a microphone and just talking gibberish for like 5 minutes and going nowhere with it. So
we called that Jeff Jarrett. Sorry, Jeff. Like you'll ever watch it. But I'm a shit talker, so you know the promos. That's what always drew me in, was come up here and try to embarrass people. I mean, that was why I was such a big Rock fan. That was always I can watch Mick Foley wrestle a match all day, but I love listening to Mick Foley talk. You know, so that was a big one for me.
And I was gonna mention, you mentioned The Rock. Yeah, that's what drew me back. Just one day around the fall of 2015, I'm just laying in bed and I'm just like, you know what I miss watching? I want to watch a good Rock promo. I miss that. So I watched The Rock and I watched his promos, and it just one after the other. It's an endless supply of best of The Rock on YouTube's, right? And then from there,
that's great.
I'm telling you, man. And then from there, you see some Stone Cold Steve Austin, you see some Who's another good one like that?
Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho. Oh, the Raw is Jericho premiere. Oh my God. And then the big one for me was in 2011 when I saw CM Punk go through the Summer of Punk that led to the Money in the Bank. And that's what, I said, you know what? I'm missing too much. I got to get back into it. That's why, even though I never watched it, when I saw what was going on like 4 years after the fact, and I saw all this stuff that I missed with CM Punk, that's when I decided I need to get back into this for sure. And that's why we're here today to talk some good old-fashioned wrestling. What were some of your, you mentioned some of your favorite wrestlers. Any others that you wanted to mention at the moment? While we gear up this introductory aspect of things?
I mean, I'm a huge HBK mark. I'm a big Shawn Michaels fan.
Yeah,
that's going to be the fun stuff with me and you. I can't wait to get into that. Also a huge Edge mark, Edge and Christian. Christian needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Vince, make it happen. But and that's kind of, when I got last for a while too, that's, you went back and watched CM Punk, I went back and watched Edge, so the Edge and Cena angles, Edge and Kurt Angle, Edge and Batista is really underrated.
Right.
His work is always good. His personality is great. And it helps that, I listened to the podcast when it was on, and I respect the guy as a person. I have 2 girls. He has 2 girls. So that's a little bit of part of it, but man, could he go. So I'm a big Edge fan and also Christian. So.
Man, when I heard that Edge was taking SmackDown by storm and people were surprised, I'm like, why are you surprised? It's Edge. Like, I always loved Edge myself. He was one of those. I used to model my characters on No Mercy in those games. I used to model them after Edge. I love everything about the entrances. I did Gangrel, right? I did Gangrel's entrance because Edge was in there. I did Edge's entrance. I did Christian's entrance, like you mentioned, and because I absolutely thought the world of the guy, and I thought he was going to be such a big name in the future. But nobody, from what I understand, nobody saw it coming back in the '90s. And then once he got to SmackDown and became it was SmackDown, right?
Yeah, he was a SmackDown guy.
And when I hear that he's dominating or the face of SmackDown, and people are shocked. I'm like, why are you shocked? How do you not see this coming? Look at the guy. He oozes charisma, man. He's everything. Great in-ring talent. Can put up a really good match. Funny as hell. You pair him up with Christian, and they just become a dynamic duo. So yeah, big thumbs up for Edge on my behalf too. And I actually
5-second pose.
You have a little bit of dry wit, man. I gotta get used to that. Used to that.
If I just do. Yeah, don't worry about that. Anyway,
you're as dry as Kevin Nash's Cabernet Sauvignon. Another name I wanted to mention, just to go through my list, Bret Hart. I was a big Bret Hart fan, so that's where we come in with the clashes, because we're always clashing as to who was right and who was wrong. And history shows that Bret Hart was right, and revisionist history shows that Shawn Michaels is demented. So that's the way it goes. Moving on, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. Unfortunately, they're dead. And even though I was lapsed during that time, I knew about it. I heard about it. I was devastated, but I wasn't watching, so it didn't affect me as much. But you leave wrestling, and wrestling always finds you, don't it? It always finds you, no matter how far you try to get away from it.
Oh yeah.
So that was my moment. You mentioned Rey Mysterio, a big Rey Mysterio fan over on this side as well. Owen Hart, rest in peace. So that's another dead wrestler. Unfortunately, they would become a common occurrence. You mentioned Conan and Razor Ramon, because even though he's a fake Cuban, unlike Conan, who's a real Cuban, the fact that they had Latino representation of the WWE meant everything for me. So I'll always be a big Razor Ramon fan.
For sure.
All right. Yeah. So what's that? I'm sorry.
Oh, the only other thing I was going to say was like how I got back into it. Like you were saying, you got back around 2015, Yeah. Well, mine was kind of a similar thing. Like I had, moved back around where I was in the vicinity of one of my best friends growing up. He's in the group, Matthew Buendia.
Yeah.
He was my wrestling buddy back in the day. We used to talk about it all the time. book dream matches and stuff like that. But he was living like right down the street from me. So we would get together and watch pay-per-views on Sundays and stuff like that. So that was kind of our bonding time. And that's when I really got back into it, got into this group, and it's kind of taken off from there.
Yeah, man. This group has been something else, man.
Yeah.
We're already trying to plan our first group meeting for the Royal Rumble here in Chicago. I'm hoping that there's going to be a good turnout for that. I know I'm definitely watching it, whether people show up or not. I know my buddy Nick, he wants to head out. It just depends if the hospital will let him out early. And I'll let you guys decipher what that means on your end. It could be anything. Is he in the lunatic house? Is he in the asylum? Is he still sick? I don't know. That's for you guys to find out.
Maybe Mick will bring around Yerple the Clown.
Oh God. But yeah, it's a very special group. I've been in some wrestling groups, and it can get very venomous and very just brutal, just brutally ugly. And these people who are in this wrestling group are just simply amazing, man. We can have a heated discussion and then move on to the next topic and make fun of Lana and Lashley, for lack of a better example. We can get together and say how much that sucks, even though it gets high ratings every goddamn weekend. I don't understand why, but anyway, on to more. This is a wrestling podcast. Let's talk about the current products that are out there. We just experienced New Japan Pro Wrestling Kingdom 14, which I predicted back when it was announced that it would be the best wrestling event of the year, and for the umpteenth year in a row, it's once again the best wrestling year of the event. Oh yeah, it was amazing, man. I've only watched a handful of matches because it's been a pain in the ass to get access to these matches, because they're no longer on Access Television. So years past, I would just tune on Access and just watch them little by little. But this time around, they're not going to be on Access TV, so those days are gone. But the few that I did watch were simply breathtaking and amazing, and it's just a very I can't say enough of it. It's just an awesome atmosphere. One day, just one time, I would love to go and visit and catch me one of those Wrestle Kingdom shows.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of that at all?
I watched the Chris Jericho match. I watched that one. I watched part of the Will Ospreay match, and he's one of those flippy guys I can kind of get into, because he does flips. It works in the match, like it makes sense. Like one of my big pet peeves is people just doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff, and he does that, but it all makes sense. It works in the match. So I watched that one, and I watched the Okada NATO match too.
Oh,
so
God.
Because I'll watch anything Okada does.
Man, that guy, they're already talking like he's not to be blasphemous, but they're talking about how he's going to be the greatest of all time when it's all said and done. He's only 32 years old, apparently. And his reign in this current reign that he's been a part of, Rainmaker, has been pretty damn epic, to say the least. And now it's Naito's turn to take that strap and run with it and become the face. And they're loaded up there, man. And if it's not Naito or Okada, it's definitely Tanahashi. Or they can bring in Moxley and bring him up for a little bit. They can bring in Jericho and put him up a little bit again. And they're just loaded with superstars out there. And you come stateside to the WWE, and it's like one guy gets hurt. One guy, and suddenly everything just falls apart, Oh, Brett, you froze up a little bit. I'm sorry.
You're good, dude.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry about it.
I started panicking. Oh, no, I lost him.
I'm sure we're gonna get fired up, man. Don't worry about that. So that's what we do, because like even in the group, everyone gets along and we all like each other, but we get fired up. This is one of my favorite things about being a wrestling fan, is just you're getting fired up over something that's kind of stupid, but not really. I mean,
it's some serious stupid shit is what it is.
It's like an Adam Sandler movie.
Oh, God, stop it.
So we'll get fired up. Don't sweat that.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. It's like, Randy Orton goes down and suddenly they're like scrapping to see who's going to come up, and they bring up one guy too early or they bring up one guy too late, and it's frustrating. But no, that was a big positive to kick off the year. Every year, for me at least, Wrestle Kingdom just is always the best event, and then WrestleMania is a snooze fest. But I'll be watching WrestleMania because I can't help myself, so whatever. But I just know what's going to happen. I think I have a large enough of a sample size to expect to have these expectations for WrestleMania coming up. But Wrestle Kingdom never disappoints me, so I'm always happy that the year kicks off with that. We move on to the Wednesday Night Wars. You watch NXT, I watch AEW. I just saw the ratings. AEW somehow, I can't explain that one. It wasn't that good of a show last night, but they won the ratings. But again, these ratings are just becoming so meaningless. They're fun to look at, but you also know in the back of your head, well, you still got to account. But you still got to account for the DVR and the streaming and blah 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 blah. But the fact of the matter is, there's so much crossover. NXT fans are watching AEW, and AEW fans are watching NXT. Together, it comes up to 1.7 million wrestling fans that are watching this. So that's a good sign.
That's what matters.
On a Wednesday night. That's what matters the most on these relatively new shows. But tell me, what were some of the highlights? You want to go 1-1? You give me a highlight. I give you a highlight.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, let's start with you.
So the first thing, they were really putting over TakeOver Blackpool, which is the Sunday. They mentioned it about 100 times, lots of good packages and all that, talking about a bunch of the matches. Started out with Rhea Ripley, the new NXT Women's Champion, coming down to the ring. And one thing led to another, and all of a sudden there's 6 other women in the ring. There's a 6-way, six-person tag match. That was pretty solid, and Tony and Rhea are going to lock horns at TakeOver Blackpool for Rhea's strap. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm a big fan of both of them.
Nice. Man, I wish I had more time to just soak in both shows. I got to do better at time management because I'm missing out on because I'm a big fan of Rhea Ripley too, and I feel like I need to watch. But I'm a fan of a lot of people at NXT, and it's just a shame that the only thing that's stopping me from watching is just a lack of time. So I got to do better with time management to soak it in, because this is a really good time to be. This is the only reason to be a WWF fan or WWE, sorry. I'm still stuck in 92. This is a really good reason to be a WWE fan. Pal. Just to soak up these NXT shows. Meanwhile, in no particular order, the Lucha Brothers versus the Cody and Dustin Rhodes was the first highlight of the night. As you know me, I'm a big Lucha Brothers fan since the days that they were in Lucha Underground. I'm a big Pentagon fan. But they're there because they're big names, so to speak, in the indie world, in the indie wrestling world. So you get a win. The Rhodes family gets a win off of those two, and it does kind of add legitimacy to them. So I have no problem with the Lucha Brothers losing. Arn Anderson is now coaching up the Rhodes family, mostly Cody Rhodes. So that's a heck of a dynamic. I kind of like it, but I also fear for Arn, because I know he has all sorts of health problems. There was a moment where Rey Fenix was kind of stalking him as what do you call it? Arn pulled a chair from out of his hand, and Phoenix took exception. And I thought, oh shit, is Arn gonna take a bump here? Don't do it, do it. But no, the cooler heads prevailed. And but long story short, the Rhodes family won, and they kind of add legitimacy. Cody's on a winning streak now, as he climbs his way to the top again to not winning a championship belt. I don't know what's going on, but that's highlight number 1 for me.
So sticking with the theme of the Rhodes family, they had 2 matches for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Champions Cup, baby. The first match was it was the Forgotten Sons. It was Wesley Blake, and it was Cutler. I didn't get his first name, so we'll just call him Jay Cutler. And they were facing it was guys from Imperium. I'm really, really bad with European names, so I apologize. That one's on me. But it was a pretty good match. It kind of, they're both heelish, which you had 2 heel teams going against each other, which is what it is, I guess, in 2020. Couple of sweet moves. Imperium's a really good tag team. They work really well together. And Imperium ended up winning and moving on to the next round. And unfortunately, I forgot to write down who they're against, but we'll find out next week, I think. And then the other match in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Cup to find out who was the bull of the wood, if you will. That one was the team of Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly with Undisputed Era, and they were facing Wolfgang and Mark Coffey from Gallus. Adam Cole NXT World Champion Adam Cole, baby, and North American Champion Roddy Strong were both out too. We're both out there. There was a commercial right in the middle of it, which sucks, but it is what it is. Cole interfered, and Undisputed Era won. It was a good match, but it's always a good match with those guys.
Oh man, they're the truth. The Ring of Honor folks, they're the truth. I saw a meme recently that said WWE's developmental league was not NXT, but a Ring of Honor, and ain't that the truth with these four guys, man?
Yeah.
Jeez, they're so damn good.
Mm-hmm.
Moving back to AEW, the Johnny Moxley, Chris Jericho. This was Moxley's chance to decide whether he wanted to join Chris Jericho's inner circle. Moxley says, yes, I will join. And then 5 minutes later, after celebrating with Jericho and the rest of the inner circle, what's his face, Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager, you see Moxley and Jericho alone inside the ring, and then Moxley says, hey, you know what? I was just kidding. And then boom, hits him over the head with a glass of the little bit of the bubbly. And
love Mox.
And Moxley says, no, the only thing I care about is not the inner circle, ownership stake of the inner circle, not the car, not the money. I care about the strap, son. And, gives him a DDT, I believe he gave Sammy Guevara a DDT as well. Good stuff to finish off the show, but they kind of dragged it. I think, a matter of fact, I just had a conversation, I believe, with Kevin Williams of the Wrestling Life group, where he's like, why couldn't they wait a little longer? And I'm like, man, we've been waiting for weeks for Moxley to decide whether he's going to join or not. My wife keeps asking me, so did Moxley join or not? So the fact that she's interested, that's kind of something. But no, it turns out it was just a ruse. He got the car anyway. He's going to get the Ford GT, whatever that was. And he rides into the sunset looking to see for another chance to get a shot at the belt.
Yeah, so...
Wait, quick question for you. I have a question for you, if I may, please.
Yeah.
What's the prettier belt? The IG, I can't say it now, the New Japan Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Championship belt or the AEW Championship belt?
I like the AEW strap. It's a good-looking belt.
Yeah, it's pretty, yeah.
It's a good-looking belt. It doesn't have the legacy yet, but if you're going just on looks, that one's kind of hard to beat.
Yeah. Are you one of those guys that, has a favorite belt of all time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The Attitude Era Intercontinental belt, probably my favorite. But, favorite championship belts, the Winged Eagle from the Attitude Era, the Rattlesnake belt.
Yeah. It seems to be everybody's favorite right there. But no, those are good-looking belts, and wonder when they're going to start making good belts again over there. I don't know. Go on. I'm sorry. I interrupted you. Go on.
But they had Johnny Gargano came back from being hurt. There was a big package about that whole thing about, Finn Balor hurting him and then Johnny Gargano costing him the NXT Championship against Adam Cole. There was Johnny Gargano came out. He had a promo. He's a little meh on the mic, but Finn Balor came out and coaxed a pretty good promo out of him. It got better as Finn Balor got in there. Finn's a great promo. I don't understand why anybody doesn't think he can't cut a good promo. But they went back and forth for a little while and kind of teased a Johnny Gargano Finn Balor match at TakeOver Portland. Nice. Which should be pretty sweet.
Yeah, you talk about work rate. That's gonna be a lot of work right there. But no, you know why Finn Balor doesn't get any credit for his promo skills? Because he has an Irish accent.
Because he's Irish.
Yeah. Kevin Dunn, man, he doesn't like that. Although, you know, the two better promos that you have there, Becky Lynch and Finn Balor, have Irish accents. So what does that say about your talent evaluation skills there?
And I think Irish accents are scary to me. I mean, it's kind of like French, when someone can tell you something like awful in French and it sounds beautiful. Like Irish is like you say something in English and it just sounds scary. Like everything sounds scary if you say it in an Irish accent. I think it's great.
Moving on to the next highlight of the night of All Elite Wrestling Dynamite. MJF, one of the bright spots every single night. He has the ring of, I forgot what ring he has, but he has a ring and it's a diamond-studded ring, whatever. He basically is getting into a feud with Diamond Dallas Page. D. And apparently, that's right, bang. And there was a funny moment that really pissed off DDP when he said, you know what, why don't you let me borrow MJF says this, why don't you let me borrow one of your daughters, and I'm going to put her right in bed, and I'm going to do what you always try to do, and that's bang. And all hell breaks loose. It was, man, MJF is just a talent, man. I mean, I know that AEW has a lot of...
I love MJF.
He's so awesome, but I know AEW is very polarizing at this moment. But MJF is worth the price of admission every week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to see MJF in NXT with some of those guys, though. I mean, just kind of.
You can't have him.
Going I'm into. I think he'd be great over there. I love MJF. I'm a big MJF fan.
Counterpoint to that, NXT already had EC3, so and they didn't do anything with them.
That's because EC3 looks like white Bobby Lashley.
Well, have you ever seen MJF? I mean, he's pretty much built kind of the same way. I mean, you can see the back knee all over his back. So I know he's doing some extracurriculars just like EC3 was doing. They both have back knee. They both had good mic skills.
MJF is he's just entertaining, and he is a heel. He's a heel. He's the best heel in the business because he's like the only heel.
Oh yeah, full-fledged heel. Even when he was on Cody's side earlier in the AEW Dynamite tenure, even when he was trying to get with Cody and maybe turn a little bit face, he was still doing some heelish things, and he's just natural at this wrestling business for sure. What's your next highlight on NXT? What did I miss last night?
One of my favorite moments that got a real big pop out of me. There was a backstage vignette with Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle, he is mic skills away from being probably the best wrestler under employment of WWE, in my opinion. But he's teaming up with Pete Dunne for the Dusty Classic, baby. And they decided to name their team the Broserweights, which I'm a big fan of Matt Riddle putting bro in front of everything, the Broton and bro to sleep. I love that stuff. I love Matt Riddle. So that was one that really popped me. Another kind of little thing that this guy's last name, Joaquin Wilde, and Austin Theory's finisher is sweet. He does like this fireman's carry kind of thing into an RKO.
Oh, nice.
It's definitely cool.
Nice.
So that was those were two of my favorite parts of the show. Maybe not like highlights are the best, but I love that. Ciampa Cole takeover promos. There's 2 or 3 of those. And then they had the main event. The main event was the Fatal 4-Way. The winner was the #1 contender for the North American Championship against Roddy Strong at TakeOver Blackpool this Sunday. Dominic Dijakovic, Damian Priest. Damian Priest has really grown on me. I wasn't super sold on him at first, but he's grown on me. And then Cameron Grimes, and then you had Keith Lee. We got to bask in the glory of Keith Lee, which is always nice. Keith Lee is incredible. I love watching him wrestle. That's awesome. And Keith Lee is going to face Roddy Strong at TakeOver Blackpool for Roddy Strong's North American Championship.
Nice. Man, that card sounds stacked this upcoming Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I might just have to check that out. I think I should be free, so I should have time. Let's do lightning round. Let's get this. I'm just gonna name the next three things. The AEW show was in Memphis, so Marco Stunt is Marco Stunt's homecoming. So it was nice to see. it was nice to see the crowd be on his side and really get behind them, and he really shone. So Orange Cassidy continues to crush it.
He doesn't care.
But man, he's so, I don't know what you can do with that guy, but he's money every time he goes. During that match, Marco Stunt got a big ovation, got the big cheer, and the only person that equaled it or went above Marco Stunt in that match was Orange Cassidy. Because I don't know what it's a gimmick that should not work at all, and it works amazingly for him.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to point out, Sammy Guevara during the commercial break for the big Jericho and Moxley thing. He's been getting into the habit of bringing out signs, so that way people don't go anywhere during commercial. It's kind of hokey, but I'm a sucker for that type of stuff, and I'm already a big fan of Sammy Guevara anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And in one of the cards, he shoots a shot at Selma Hayek. Selma, call me, maybe? And hashtag Desperado, which is one of my favorite movies. So,
oh yeah.
I'm a big fan of Robert Rodriguez, so so I'm a big fan of the signs, big fan of Sammy trying to get it on with Selma Hayek. And let's see, what's your lightning round looking like over there?
That was about it for the show. I mean, there was some stuff here and there, but yeah.
All right, perfect. So we finished simultaneously. That we couldn't have written it better than that. And then let's just you mentioned NXT Blackpool. You're obviously looking for it, but this is one of the few times, because I'm known as the WWE hater, which I don't know why, because I don't really hate it. I just hate a certain person that runs the thing like a clown show, I guess, for lack of a better term. But this is it right here. This
you mean God?
Man, if that is God, we're screwed, man. I tell you what.
Well, he's standing next to Shawn Michaels, so it has to be God.
It's sitting at the right hand of the Lord, huh? Wow. This is disgusting, Brett. You're a sick, twisted individual. What was I going to say? Oh, but if I'm going to be at all positive about the WWE, this is it right here. You got the Royal Rumble coming, which to this day, I honestly believe you cannot, even as much as he tries to, you cannot mess this one up, ever. Royal Rumble is always going to be good in my book. You have the Elimination Chamber, which was one of those matches. It was one of those matches that got me back into wrestling. And correct me if I'm wrong, Brett, but the first one had Shawn Michaels winning the first Elimination Chamber ever, right?
Right, and he had like the real bad Dutch boy haircut and like the poop brown tights and the cowboy boots, and he still won. That was also the one where RVD did the frog splash off the pod and crushed Triple H's throat.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I've never felt so bad for Triple H in my whole life.
But I felt that was again, I was rewatching all this stuff because it's been so long. It's 16 years away from the business. And that was one of the matches that got me back into it. Even though Shawn Michaels won, that was a hell of a match. So I've been hooked and line and sinker. And sure enough, when I get back into wrestling, they bring it back. And it's not as, what was the word? It's not as carnal, I guess. It's not the carnage-filled event that it was back in the olden days. But it's still one of my favorite events of the year. And they got the women's one.
It's a damn good match.
And then women are involved as well. And that's the one thing
Mm-hmm.
I will always love about WWE is their women's division. So I remember
Mm-hmm.
what was it, last year or a couple years ago? They had Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. And I'm looking at Mandy Rose like, man, what can you do? And I don't know. I don't know what people think about Mandy Rose,
Mm-hmm.
but I absolutely love Mandy Rose's work ethic inside the ring. And she impressed me that night. Her and her Sonya Deville impressed me that night.
Mm-hmm.
As what was it? Bailey and Sasha Banks won that one, right? If I remember correctly. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, for the women's tag team championship.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was, and it just they couldn't.
It was a good match.
They couldn't have scripted any better. So Elimination Chamber always a plus for me,
Mm-hmm.
and it all leads to the Super Bowl of sports, WrestleMania, which I don't know. It's gonna be. I don't know. I every year
It's going to be WrestleMania.
I look forward to it every year, and every year it lets me down. So I'm trying not to get my hopes too up. I see that Brock Lesnar's number 1 at the Royal Rumble, so I wonder if this is setting up a Brock Lesnar main event snooze fest again, a 2-minute squash match where people are running late to go to work the next day. I don't know, but I don't know. It's not up to a good sign, but I'm gonna be optimistic for once about the WWE.
He suplexes himself for 15 minutes.
I mean, I asked around, hey, at the Royal Rumble, Brock Lesnar, is he just gonna like run through everybody for the first 15 minutes and then start working the next 30 minutes when there's like only 4 people left? Or is he gonna be there for 60 minutes really trying hard? And the Lesnar I know probably is gonna squash everybody until the last 4 entrants are in there.
Hopefully one of them CM Punk.
Oh, nice. That'd be cool.
Dude, it would be awesome.
But did you see what he said about The Miz?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was inappropriate, but not wrong. I'll say that.
Well, I was gonna suggest that because he said that, even on a Twitter feud, I'm pretty sure that he is not under contract under WWE to do any wrestling matches, just based off that tweet alone. So, because that's not very PG rated for WWE standards. So, yeah, I'm gonna say that CM Punk will not be coming back anytime soon. I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, stranger things have happened.
And
he could sign a contract that day.
Yeah, I mean, I always say never in this business, but as of right now, gun to my head, I don't think he's gonna be coming back to do anything significant this year. But we'll see. I mean, like I said, anything can happen. But like I said, this is usually a good time for WWE too, because that's when their subscription to the network goes up. That's when ratings usually are high because there's no more football. Although I saw that Monday Night Raw ratings went down below 2.0 the other night, so that's not a good sign. But usually this is around the time where their stock price goes up because it's centered around WrestleMania. So everything's hunky dory right now in Titan Towers up in Connecticut. Anything else, Brett, or any other thoughts on or any news that I might have missed?
Nothing that I can really think of. So it's been pretty slow.
Yeah, I mean, but,
for the business.
Yeah, I mean, it's leading up to you got your NXT the Blackpool meetup. You have Royal Rumble coming up at the end of the month. You have Wednesday night. I think that this should be for next week. The Wednesday night Dynamite is going to be Bash at the Beach. So that's what I wanted to bring up today. So let's just do the ratings for what they are, right? So there's no way to predict how these ratings are going to go. It seems like one week everybody's watching, and then the next week nobody's watching, right? Like that one week where AEW got a 0 rating in December, right? That's the joke. But so right now it's AEW at 947,000, NXT at 731,000. I was gonna say that next week I predict them flip-flopping, but I just mentioned Bash at the Beach is gonna be on Wednesday Night Dynamite. Do you see a significant change for next week in these so-called ratings?
Um, you never know. I mean, like you said, I mean, anymore, it's really tough to tell because they don't account for DVR, they don't account for streaming.
Well, that's why I say just take the ratings at face value, just for what they are.
Uh,
So,
um,
do you think it's going to stay like this, or do you think they're going to flip flop? You think NXT is going to gain viewers? You think they're going to beat in the Wednesday Night War ratings war that they have going? That obviously isn't very accurate, but just for the sake of the ratings alone, do you think the NXT might and AEW might flip flop, or if AEW has the advantage because of Bash at the Beach?
I think they probably do have the advantage, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because
Yeah.
it's NXT. They're not going anywhere.
Oh yeah, no one's going anywhere right now. Not. Now we probably won't know about any cancellations until maybe later this year, before Thanksgiving. That's my prediction. But I was gonna say, I think it seems like they're taking turns with these ratings as they are. So I was gonna say, because I honestly think that people were pretty pissed off about AEW, but then I saw on Twitter and there was plenty of positive outlooks on it as well. So I don't know what to make of it. But I came in having a feeling that NXT would take the win in this one for next week. But then Bash at the Beach is coming up. So you heard it here first. I think it's going to be 880,000 for AEW and 810,000 for NXT. So that way it doesn't look so bad for either company. They're right there with each other, 50-50 split.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know that the ratings aren't everything, but it's I'm just taking them at face value at the point, and then with the understanding that there's DVRs, there's streaming devices, there's this, there's that. Of course, I know, but yeah. But anyway, I'll give you the floor to you. Any last words from you, Brett?
No, this was my first ever podcast and everything. Felipe, you've been awesome. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're going for. So I'm excited. I can't wait to do this more and keep giving you guys my opinion, whether you want it or not.
It's the best thing going, right? One thing I want to say is thank you if you make it this far, especially my fellow administrators as Don Pete Pena, Randy Hammond, Henry Maldonado, Brett Moore, Jake Schwartz, me, and most importantly, Vince Mercandetti, for helping out with the management of the life groups. A big thank you to you, Brett, for those who don't know, I lean heavily, real heavy on Brett Moore for all the little things that I can't wrap my head around. So I do thank you for being that listening ear, for taking initiative and just stepping up when I need you the most. So it only seemed like a natural fit to let's just go ahead and get this podcast going and let's see where the chips may fall. But a big thank you to you personally, from me to you, just so you can hear it live on air and on the record forever and ever. Amen. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you to everybody for tuning in and watching. We'll see you at the Wrestling Life Facebook group. And again, subscribe to this YouTube channel and check us out next time. Peace. Thanks, Brett.
Okay.